As it concerns hearing or receiving advice from others, it has to be admitted that more often than not, it is about the person who is giving the advice, reassuring him or herself that I am superior, especially to you or to other people, that I am advising, that I am right, that I am wise, that my worldview, excuse me, that my perspective is correct, and such. That's really the main thing. Whatever um, kind of life that I have lived, whatever ideas and ideals that I have made my own, I now have a vested interest in them being correct and in evaluating any and all others vis-a-vis my own yardstick. So, for example, simple examples, I like this kind of diet, right? And now that I have lived according to this diet, I want to be right, right? I want to believe that I did not play myself in terms of health and in terms of stupidity. So if somebody asks me, what's the right kind of diet? There's a good chance that I will say, well, it's just the one that I follow. And you should follow it too. And so on. I have made such and such thing a priority in my life. And when somebody asks me, what's the most important thing in life? Well, it's that which I've made a priority in my own life. Whatever it might be, success in this department, that department, whatever the case might be. So, what here is the obvious issue? The obvious issue would seem to be that one size does not necessarily fit all. I may have a diet that works very well for me. It does not from that follow that it works very well for you. And in the interest of objectivity and in the interest of truly um, willing your good and giving you valid advice that would work for you, I can't just, or I should not in that case, just say that you just need to follow my diet, whoever it is that you are and however it is that your body works. Why? Well, because I'm right and you're wrong. I'm superior. I'm wise. I don't want to feel foolish for having done the wrong diet. I don't want to consider that there's other kinds of bodies than my own in some ways. Right? And consequently, I'm just going to say, follow my diet. And that would seem to apply in principle, at least potentially, across the board. I have made, again, X the most important thing in my life. Perhaps it has worked for me. It doesn't mean that the same is so for you. So that seems obvious enough. So, what are some guidelines that could be considered concerning advice that is actually useful for others as opposed to being self serving and merely being a sort of pep talk for oneself? Anytime I get an opportunity to dispense wisdom, I get an opportunity to reaffirm how, again, right I am and how superior I am and so forth. What's an alternative to that? First of all, the opposite perhaps ought be avoided, which would be to say that there is nothing whatsoever that holds across the board for all persons. There are no guidelines that all can benefit from, that everything is purely and exclusively idiosyncratic or subjective. So, one extreme would be only my diet works, and only because I use this diet, right? And I'm obviously right. Another extreme would be to say there is no objectivity at all concerning food. You can eat if you want, or you cannot eat, and you can eat absolutely anything and at any time. Right? You could eat chalk and nails and cardboard, and you'll get the same results no matter what. The results you'll get will be equally good. That is also obviously not so. There's some latitude concerning what may or may not constitute a good diet, and certainly diets can be customized to a significant extent depending on who is in question. But it's not anything goes at all. You cannot indeed eat non-edible things and be fine. Right? You cannot perhaps eat, let's say something that most would agree on, only sugar all day, every day, and be perfectly fine. Right? So a balance has to be struck. So that's one thing that needs to be avoided as it concerns what would, constitute genuinely good advice. With that said, perhaps what could be said is that first and foremost, I need to A, have been there myself, and B, I need to consider who I am speaking with and how he or she can get to a higher point based on individual capacities and individual possibilities and so forth. So, to take a simple example, how would I dispense advice as it concerns uh, literacy? Right? Well, first of all, it's very helpful to know how to read myself. If I know how to read, then I can evaluate the extent to which you know how to read. And then I can think about your abilities and where you're at, and I can chart to a higher destination, which is being able to read a little bit better. And then I can give you customized, valid advice that avoids the pitfalls of purely self serving kind of exclamations, as well as the opposite, which would be, or another undesirable extreme, which would be saying anything goes whatsoever. So, for instance, I can say, you're illiterate now. If you have the goal to learn how to read, well, here's the alphabet, right? How much time do you have each day? You work for many hours a day, let's say. You have 15 minutes. Okay, start with alphabet review, the letters of your given language each day. Right? That's considering where you're at, considering your abilities. Maybe you have a learning disability, so then maybe the advice has to be even more customized based on that. But that's kind of the idea. Right? I want to dispense fitness advice. I want to be a good trainer. First, go there myself to some or another extent. Give it a shot. Right? Don't just be a couch potato, an armchair quarterback. Do it myself at least a little bit. Right? The more, the better, probably. And then I can think about who you are and where you're at and what your needs are. You're 120 years old. If I say, right, based on what I've done, you need to uh, immediately begin lifting heavy weights and running many miles each day. No, that could kill the person. They would be spared, right? No good. I have to see where you're at. So that would seem to be sound advice concerning advice. Right? Go somewhere, go to a given destination, so to speak, right? The destination of success in a given field, in a given endeavor, right? And then charitably, sympathetically consider the person who is in question and think about a way for that person specifically to get from where he or she is at to some higher point. Don't just automatically throw out recommendations that work for me. Right? Don't just use advice as an opportunity to, again, give myself a pat on the back, a pep talk. I'm right. Let me bask in the glory and satisfaction of being right and being superior. Don't do that. Also, don't just say anything goes and you can do anything at all and you'll always get results that are as good as anything else or as good as that which somebody else would get by doing something else. Right? Try to think clearly, reasonably, and charitably about how somebody, based on who they are, can move on ahead at least a little bit. And that would be some advice for good advice. Thank you for listening.